Good morning. How are you doing? Um, so it's been a while since I've actually done a video. Um, I had a lot of things going on in my life with the kids and just kind of where I wanted to go with this channel. If I, there's a lot of work to try to do a video every week, and you know, uh, at first I was very ambitious and thought I could do it, and then life kind of you know shows you that you need to set your priorities right. And at that time, it was more so for taking care of my kids and taking care of myself, uh, you know, mentally and physically. Um, but what I did want to talk about during this video was something that I haven't done in 2 years now, and that is doing a photo shoot. Now, you know, I think some of my previous videos I had said that, I had a wonderful career of working in the fashion, music, um, editorial world of photography out in New York, and had a lot of clients in Europe as well. And I was doing that for 15 years. And everything was strong, everything was great. What has happened in the past couple of years has been a lot of, I guess, roadblocks and just mental blocks and things that I just never thought would ever happen to me as a professional. I've already seen stories of other people that have dealt with that and was like, oh, this, it'll never happen to me. Um, and essentially, what I was going through was of a lack of interest in photography, a lack of interest in my skills, a lack of interest in, I don't know, wanting to continue this career. And if I did want to quit, then what do I do afterwards? And all of this kind of happened during my marriage. And I know I had put like a video out about my separation and wanting to divorce and kind of dealing with that. Um, it's still been like 2 years from my separation, and still going through the process of divorce. And it's not fun. It's definitely not fun at all. But at the same time, that stress and struggle um, mentally kind of kicked my butt. And I had no interest in going out and setting up shoots and meeting new team members and doing all the things that I did that was in New York that was so fun, which was, you know, uh, coming up with a concept and presenting it to the team and doing the production and getting it all set up, the studios, the equipment, shooting everything, interacting with the models and just having a fun on set, and then taking the photos home and being excited to see what the results were, and then working on it and then seeing the final product and being so proud of the work that we all did. That was great. I always felt wonderful, and just, I don't know, I was the enthusiasm of all that was amazing. Now, the past 2 years, that enthusiasm was not there. It was gone. I had literally no interest in doing any of that, any form of reaching out to new talent, reaching out to agencies, coming up with ideas and concepts that I would like to pursue. It just, my equipment. I even sold like one of my hero cameras just because just wasn't getting used. I figured, oh, maybe my career is over now. Maybe it's been a good 15 plus years. Maybe it's time to hang it up and move on to the next chapter. Like I don't need these, I don't need this equipment anymore. I just, I still would like to have something to use just for, you know, a hobby. Um, so yes, I sold one of my hero cameras and sold some of my lighting equipment and really thought that my time as a professional photographer was over, and to move on to the next chapter. Did I feel good about it? I don't know. You see, I don't know what I was feeling. I don't know if I was feeling, there was some part of me that felt like I was bummed and sad that something that I loved so much for close to 20 years, I was now over it. It's it's definitely, it was just an odd feeling. I just was feeling odd, you know? I just didn't feel right. And I also didn't feel the need to force anything. I know I had talked to a lot of my colleagues in the industry and people that I had used to work with, and I would vent out and tell them, oh, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And they would always come saying, you just need to get back on the horse. You just need to get back to doing what you love, and it's really easy to tell someone that. But on my end, it's actually getting to that moment to do it. I think, I don't know. I don't know if I was scared of, do I still have, is my work going to lack because I'm not feeling the love of it? Am I forcing this? I don't know. I just didn't feel right about getting back in the studio and doing work again. Um, it wasn't until, I think, earlier this year, 2025, where you know I was feeling a little bit better about myself mentally, and was slowly but surely kind of getting back onto the horse. It was almost like that feeling of if you were on a motorcycle or a horse or a bicycle or something like that, and you got in an accident, you got bucked off by a horse, or you fell on the motorcycle, fell really bad on a bicycle, and you got injured, and you're just afraid to get back on again because of, you don't want to get hurt again. You don't want to experience that pain again. I think that's what I was feeling most of the time. I was scared to step back into the ring and start working again because I don't know, I was just afraid that of failure, or just afraid that I'm coming back to fail, or I'm coming back to, my work would not be the same. My work would be lesser then, and I just, the just afraid of being judged and criticized, and just, or just not even noticed at all, I guess, because this world, creative world and photography and just a digital outlook of everything moves so quickly that 2 years away from everything, everything moves so fast that all of a sudden afterwards you can just be left behind. And I think that's what I was afraid of. Um, but like I said, ever so slowly, snail's pace, I started to kind of gain that confidence and kind of getting that hunger back of creating something. And during the summertime, I actually still kind of focused on what a next chapter in my life would be, and I kind of transitioned more so into the marketing, creative marketing, and production side. I like altered my website to be show focus more in that world, and still had the photography stuff. So I was still ready to kind of move to another chapter that wasn't just fully photography based, and um, focus more on the marketing. You use those creative ideas to still kind of be in that world, but less about me being behind the lens. And during this time, I was making decks and case studies to kind of use as my portfolio to to show to other clients. And some of these ideas actually got me, thinking like, oh gosh, like this would be a good idea to actually shoot. And I had met with one of my makeup artist friends that I had worked with in New York, who also now lives in Los Angeles, which is I'm on the West Coast. And so we were kind of spitballing and talking about, would it be good to work on this certain idea? And he liked it, and he had a team that he trusted a lot, and we decided to book the studio, uh, and get the models, and go out and go shoot. Um, and this was maybe this was like a week and a half ago. And like I said, first time on set, I had to grab all my equipment, with the equipment I had. Um, Luckily I had one camera that would now be my hero camera, and I had bought kind of a cheaper, older, like Sony A6000 as just my fun camera to have, and I brought that on set. And I had a Polar Pro, like one of the toy lenses that they make. That was just like lived on that camera, and it was just supposed to be my fun like retro camera. And I was like, oh, well, you know what? Well, I'll kind of use this as like maybe my VHS camcorder on sets, or when I'm shooting the kids and stuff like that. Like it's like I said, it's a fun camera. So you know, I was on set and had the whole production, set up everything, set up all the lighting, all that stuff, and it actually felt good. Um, I wasn't afraid of going back on set. I wasn't afraid if the images were going to be good or not. I kind of was slowly falling back into that form that I had back when I was in New York. And, you know, everything seemed great. The team was wonderful. The models were amazing. Um, the 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 concept really came together, um, and I actually felt excited again. And I felt that, you know what, I got back on the saddle, and nothing bad happened. You know, I didn't fall off. The horse didn't buck me off. I didn't you know, crash the motorcycle. I didn't do any of that stuff. Everything kind of felt like home again. And I felt really good about it. And drove back home. I had the images up, quickly, you know, put them up on Photoshop, started to edit them, and, I started to get that workflow that I used to have again, where I started to get where I was proud of the images that I did, and was happy, like, oh my gosh, look, like this was amazing, like everything got put together, and the vision um, is really coming through. And you know I enjoyed it, and I've been missing that enjoyment for 2 years. Like I said, this is the first real shoot in a studio in 2 years that I've done. And you know it it felt amazing. I felt like I was back again. and I quickly edited and got the images completed. Sent them to the team, and the team loved them. The team thought that they came out great. That was the one thing that I was afraid of, that the people that I worked with would not like what I did, or the images I chose, or how I edited it, or just something. It's just like they wouldn't had they would have done something differently, or they wanted me to not do it a certain way. But they saw how the vision, and when trusted me to kind of realize the visions and realize the imagery. And I was happy, and I was proud of the work that we did. You know, I didn't really care about putting stuff up on social media and getting likes or anything like that. Like the team, they started putting up the images and tagging me, and I got to see how people reacted to it and how they loved it. And I haven't put them up yet. I just haven't felt like putting it up on my social media, because I kind of stepped away from social media and just focused on myself. But at the same time, I did a little behind the scenes video. I used that old Sony camera with the Polar Pro toy lens on it as just kind of like a B roll, and let me just see how the images look, in a dark studio. And I wanted to have this kind of low-fi, low quality camcorder look to everything, and just messing around. Like the B-roll stuff was just me messing around, and I put together, a little B-roll video. I think I'm probably going to splice it in with this video. Um, but I like that. That was something fun. It was just more. It was what I used to do. Uh, during the creative days in my career of just experimenting, and I had fun. So I know I don't do a lot of videos, and I'm still trying to get used to talking in front of the camera and being comfortable with it. I'm still not comfortable talking in front of the camera. I'm trying to be as, you know, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to be as honest and as real as possible, and trying to give you, the viewer, my perspective of what I've been dealing with, because I don't know, there's not a lot of people on YouTube that actually talk about the struggles of working a professional career in photography or videography or any kind of professional creative uh, job or industry, and having the difficulties of creative block, or just not loving what you used to do anymore, and just being honest about it. I know that YouTube and content creators are always about how everything's all positive. Everything's about how great everything is, and how great the world, their world is, and the things that they're making. And you know, I just wanted to be honest about it, and with these videos on this channel, and just kind of start from where sorry, the doggy's here. Doggy's here. Say hi. Say hi, puppy. Yes, it's a puppy. Yes, it's a puppy. There he is. I don't know, just kind of be honest about what I've been dealing with. And, there's going to be more of this, because I'm still dealing with it all the time, of the dealing with a divorce, being a solo dad to 2 kids, trying to start my career over again, and just the issues with with trying to handle it all. I guess you would say trying to handle it all. So let's just see how, if I if I can make more videos. That's not like a couple of months in between. I'll try to do better, But until next time, see you later.